Welcome everyone. It's Chillmonger and it's Black Comic Lords, and we're here to talk about
Well,
Aurora.
one of the Black Comic Lords.
It's my bad. Sorry. And it's Paul from the YouTube channel Black Comic Lords. The focus of today is this Storm news. Let's read the article. Yesterday, fans learned an X-Men would be joining the ranks of Marvel's premier superhero team this summer, and today it's revealed to be none other than the goddess herself. Storm is Earth's mightiest mutant. Storm's going to join the cast of Jed McKay's current starting in August, Avengers 17. So that's coming in August. Her solo book isn't even coming until October. So there's like an urgency that I'm appreciating, right? Like so far, very good coming from them. Jed McKay is one of their top writers. We know he's also going to be associated with the X-Men comic book series as well. So there's going to be a juggling of this character appearing in major franchises. X-Men sells more than Avengers, but still, if she's going to be run by this guy who we know is going to be doing event comic books, right? Just same way he's doing the Blood Hunt right now. We know he's the event guy. We know Jed McKay is kind of like the most highest pushed writer. That's who Storm is in the hands of. I have to applaud that by Marvel because these are things that I complain about often.
Jed McKay is basically the new
Bendis.
Brian Michael Bendis.
Yeah.
He's done a tremendous job on Avengers. After the volume of Black Panther by He Who Shall Not Be Named by Me on the Air Ever Again, Jed McKay did the first basically sort of introduction of Black Panther after his deflocking in that run. And the first thing he did on just a couple pages was have Captain Marvel, who's putting together the new Avengers team, be asked by Sam Wilson, why are you putting that guy on the team? And her response is very simple, but cool, because he's the deadliest man alive. That one line was more respect than he got in that entire run from that previous writer. The entire run. And his treatment of T'Challa in Avengers has been nothing short of excellent. So he gets props from me on that. But then he's also been the writer on Vengeance of Moon Knight and Moon Knight. His runs on Moon Knight have been excellent. And one of the things he did, he created a Black character called Hunter's Moon. Basically another fist of Khonshu who's from Egypt. So he gets props from me on that. And now we've got this Blood Hunt series. Jed McKay is writing a lot of that. And if you go to, and I'm sure you'll probably edit this in later, Chillmonger. If you go to the cover of that cover A of the first issue of Blood Hunt, you see about 5 Black superheroes on the cover of that book, right? And unlike what we normally see out of many of these mainstream titles that put Black faces on the cover to get people to like myself to go buy the book and realize you open the book and nobody's in there or nothing significant in there, all 5 of those Black characters have prominent roles within the book itself. It wasn't just background characters or, adding color to the book, so to speak. These characters had agency in the story. So that's important. So McKay's that dude. So having him write an Avengers title with Storm in it, Storm, Cap Falcon, and Black Panther, I'm here for it. I have a little trepidation as a Black Panther diehard Cult of Bass guy about how he's going to handle Storm and T'Challa on the same team, but we'll see.
It can only go up. Like what their relationship is nowhere right now.
I mean, look, there's levels of nowhere. There's, hey, we're not talking to each other, and then there's, hey, T'Challa and Storm are both going to be living in the Impossible City, which is the Avengers' new headquarters. And what if Craig, the corny astronaut dude, decides to come stay with Storm, and she's down the hall?
I think Jed and his resume I think we know that Craig's time is numbered. He's about to die. That's all.
Jed, if you see this video, feel free to have something interesting happen to Craig.
Yeah, make T'Challa the reason why he died, and then we don't know if it was an accident or not. Like, maybe T'Challa got to decide: do I save his life or save his life? Craig has to die, and then they go, "Why'd you do that?" Well, you see, those are kids. You gotta go with the kids instead. It was 2 lives instead of one. That's why. All right, fine. I guess it makes sense, T'Challa.
I'm not saying killing Craig would be, something I'm advocating or unaliving him, but I'm not saying I would mind.
In the comments, people are joining and they're saying things like, "I'm excited about the Avengers membership and solo series, but hate the new costume." You can't get everything, man. You can't get everything. Good evening, good day, because the most dangerous person is the one with nothing to lose. Yeah, that was the line. Hunter's moon is black. I had no idea. Read Jed
Yes,
McKay's
sir.
Moon Knight. And also, I'm not going to debate you on the existence of that character and of how frequently or infrequently he's being used and how much he will matter after Jed McKay isn't writing him anymore, and after Jed McKay doesn't have an excuse to use him in comic books. I'm not gonna argue that. Instead, I'm just gonna go straight to continuing to read some of this article. So then we got to Jed McKay. How about Valerio Schiti being the new series artist he's about to hop in? So I mean,
Yeah.
they switch and rotate, so he only be here for 5 comic books, but still to have that Aurora Monroe and to have T'Challa being drawn by a
Top
comic book
team.
by the top tier artist and writer. I cannot complain about that at
Yeah.
all. I have to commend it. This is great news for him. There's going to be like poses and things that we've never seen before because we've never had or we rarely have some of these artists. Look at Stefano Caselli and the way he's been treating. I know you particularly, you love the way that it was so regal when it was like shot from below and you can see just T'Challa walking in issue number 1 and everyone's like putting respect on him, all that visual storytelling because
Right.
it had Stefano Caselli. Hey, Skitty's from the same country. I think they're both Italian dudes, and I want to see what he's got to bring to the table as well. Two huge newses, two nice creators who are going to be covering Storm again. Great.
Yeah. I'm here for it. And then, you think about it, she also has her Storm solo series. Um, Marvel has been making a push over the last few years to give Storm her due, and it's well overdue, right? I mean, there was a period of time I really have a love-hate relationship with the X-Men. I've been an X-Men fan for most of my life, but the editorial decisions in the X offices often trouble me. There was a period of time where Storm was literally sidelined. Um, she was made subordinate to Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde, like her little sister Kitty Pryde, who she literally taught everything she knows, right? And Kitty Pryde gets made team leader and goes to Storm. Are you gonna be cool being my subordinate? She's like, oh yeah, I've made so many mistakes. I'll be fine just being a regular grunt and not a leader, as I've been basically my entire time as an X-Man. That bothered me. That bothered me. Um, to have her get the proper glow up and do that she has is important. Her power set is out there. She's an omega level mutant. But even more so, if you delve deep into her history, she has a tremendous mystical background. Going back to uh, I think it was the second Sorcerer Supreme was one of her ancestors. You know, um, characters like Asake and I forget the other one's names. But yeah, she's tremendously powerful. There was an issue of Scarlet Witch recently in the new Scarlet Witch run, in which I think it was the second issue, in which the Scarlet Witch points out all this untapped power that she has. That a lot of her powers that we see her wield aren't just mutant based; they're actually mystical, and she can tap into. People think Storm is the Weather Witch. She manipulates the weather,
Sure.
and that's a tremendous oversimplification. She manipulates energy and power. And that energy is not just earth, it's cosmic. She can literally manipulate cosmic winds. I think a recent issue was it Resurrection of Magneto, where she actually traveled almost basically the speed of light in space, wielding cosmic winds. She's Omega means something. Her powers don't really have a limit. She really is a goddess, and I think what they've said in these solicits is they're going to finally acknowledge that officially. Although the Black Panther writers already did it.
I remember Hickman doing something about the speed of light in maybe House of X #4, where they had to communicate with the mission that Nightcrawler and Wolverine were on and Mystique was there too, on like the master mold or the mother mold, whichever mold it was. They
Yeah,
had to use her to team up with Jean so that they could have a psychic link be like on time, because I guess the speed of light is 8 seconds to get from the sun to Earth, and by that logic, Mars was so far away that they needed to acquire the speed of light to have the communications. It was great.
yeah, yeah.
I do hope Misty Knight will drop by to see her man Sam Wilson every now and again. Um, I'll just say this quickly: views are expressed are mine and not Paul's. I don't have room for any other black character in Marvel that's not Storm and T'Challa. If everyone like Misty Knight, they're gonna be pure
Come on,
spirit,
man.
because they're going to be featured so little, and so there's going to be such a time gap between the next time we see them. I'm just going to support Storm and T'Challa and not like Night Thrasher and everyone else, because I know that there's a start and stop and there's an end game. Views express their mind and not Paul's. That's all.
Certainly not mine. I'm one of those. I like to have my cake and eat it too. Obviously, clearly, right? Um, I I don't want to compromise, man. I want it all because we deserve it all. Um, I
That'd be
want
great if they
blacks.
didn't
I
cost
want
$4 though. If I had more disposable income, I might be where you are, Paul.
then you'd have a room full of comics that you can't even walk around the room because of them. Be careful what you wish for. Yeah, but I want black super love, man. I'm a big proponent of that. Storm and T'Challa represented the most important couple in comics at one period of time, the most important, the most powerful, which is why they didn't survive. And it was almost foreshadowing, prodigious by Reggie Hudlin, who put them together, because on their honeymoon they literally had that conversation, that famous scene where T'Challa's talking to Aurora, and she's saying, we had a lot of
I know
people
the
at our
scene.
wedding, and
Yeah.
people are afraid of us. And they're like, yeah, people are afraid. They're talking behind our backs about how much money we have, how well connected we are, how much power we have, um, how much power is at our disposal, and they're afraid. She's like, well, what happens if they come for us? She's like, that'd be a sad day. And she's like, why? Because then I would have to do all those things that they're afraid that I would do. That's fighting,
Ooh,
right?
what a
But
Pinky and the Brain ending. The same
Reggie
thing we try to
Hudlin
do.
predicted it. He
Yeah,
predicted it,
yeah.
and they did it. And the X offices did exactly that. Split them apart in AVX. I don't know, unless you were around in those times and you were reading comics in those times, you may not really truly appreciate just how important they were and how much fanboy hate there was,
Hmm.
that you had this. Because remember, right after they got married, they jumped into the Fantastic Four, which was the premier superhero family in comics.
Was that
They took over the book.
Was that McDuffie doing that at that time?
Yeah, yeah. They took over the book, right? For a while. Um, and there was a lot of fanboys that were upset about that. So don't take it lightly about how much fear there is about this couple being together, because that it is just that. It rocks Marvel to its core.
I think that there's an ear on the ground recently. It feels like it. And maybe that want and that love to rekindle these two will happen. The only problems that there's ever been was a professional problem, which was the X-Men and their group editor and their office
Right.
wasn't the same as the one in charge of the Black Panther world. Will Moss isn't Jordan D. White. But at this time, Jed McKay is doing X-Men, Jed McKay is doing Avengers. What's the problem? Let's unite. Who's putting their foot down saying no?
One could make a oversimplification and say, it's a black thing, right? Like the black writers will do whatever it takes to write in a good story and what have you. And the white editorials, the ones keeping them down, being the man, taking them down. It's not that simple because Jonathan Hickman wanted Storm to have T'Challa's child. He had written
In the
a story.
silent issue, Giant Size X-Men, Emma Frost and Jean Grey, that one.
Absolutely. He was going to do that. He got overrun by editorial, Marvel editorial. Now, understand, it's Jonathan freaking Hickman.
Yeah.
He's one of those few writers in comics, not just Marvel comics, but in comics that can walk into editorial and say, I have an idea for a book, and they hand him a check and say, here, do whatever you like, and we'll pay you whatever you want. He's got that type of clout. There's not a whole lot of writers that get that type of clout. He's one of those dudes, and they told him no. We have plans for Storm. What are the plans? It didn't happen.
Look, the child wasn't born, and they would rather make it a silent issue. I think Russell Dauterman was the artist on that, and it was a silent issue,
Right.
and all they did was pull out all of the scenes that Jonathan Hickman wrote and all the word balloons, and they just said, "Here, guys," and they sold it as a gimmick of silent issue. That was disgusting. We are a little bit off topic, though.
We're a bit off topic.
I want to say Krakoa's tragic fall has made the Avengers realize how vital a mutant on the team is, and vital a mutant voice on the team is, and they'll settle for nothing less than the most prominent and beloved mutant superhero on the planet.
I don't really like that line because that makes it sound like she's a token mutant.
I thought it sounds like the opposite. I thought they were trying to big her up and say that she's this beloved mutant superhero.
They are. I mean, she's obviously the most vital voice you could possibly have, but it's like the Krakoa's tragic falls made the Avengers realize how vital a mutant voice on the team is. Having a mutant voice on the team is like, we need to have a token mutant on the team.
Yeah, but as we watched American Fiction, there was that one scene where they said we need to listen to the black voices, and Issa Rae's character and Richard and Monk, both of those characters were in the room as those three other novelists were voting, and they said that we need to listen to black voices, and everyone was objecting. No. Everyone black was saying no. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, I get what you mean. I see it. It says here on the planet, a pop culture icon, Storm has assembled with the Avengers before in both comics as well as other forms of media, but never like this. Like last time she was on the Avengers, I think Bendis was doing it right before Avengers was X-Men. She might have had like 6 or 7 comic books on the Avengers, and then like right when AVX began, she was in the big room and she was like, "Nah, we're not doing this," and then she just kind of left and she was like, "I'm an X-Men first," which was cool.
Right. Randall, was it not Randall? Yeah, Randall Brown says, is Wanda not a mutant? Well, she is, she was, she is, she was, I don't know.
And she can be.
She can be. That's complicated.
Is she Magneto's daughter? She is, and she was, and can be.
The short answer is kind of short and long. So the short answer is, at one point, and this kind of ties into what we're talking about with
Paul,
Storm.
the short answer is yes. Maybe not biologically, maybe the lineage is different, whatever. He views her as my daughter. She views him as daddy. All right.
No, it's not a question of it's her father. It's whether she's a mutant, versus being a creation of what's that guy's name? The High Evolutionary, right? Marvel, because of licensing issues, before they had acquired the rights to the X-Men, did a lot of funny things with their characters because Marvel's petty like that. And that's really where the AVX came into play. That's why T'Challa and Storm were ultimately pulled apart, because they're on 2 different licenses, right? 20th Century Fox still had the rights to the X-Men. They refused to sell it to Marvel. Marvel decided to get petty and say, hey, we're going to sideline all mutant characters. But Wanda and Pietro were kind of in that hybrid, because although they were mutants, they kind of more prominently featured in the Avengers titles. So they're more Avengers than they were. So they said, hey, we still have kind of the rights to these 2 characters. So what we're going to do is we're going to not make the mutants anymore, so we can still use them on our comics. And the mutant titles, we're going to put them literally in limbo, not figuratively, literally stuck them in limbo as their new base of operations to sideline the mutant characters. And that's where the Inhumans all of a sudden came out of nowhere and said, Inhumans are the real new mutants.
You'll love the Inhumans. They're
You
just
love
as
the
feared.
Inhumans. But we got Moon Girl out of that, right? So there was some positives.
Man, I hate to do this again, and these are my views, but how prominently is Moon Girl's features? When did she matter in the last crossover event? Did they go, oh, we need someone smart, Moon Girl? Like,
In the
it's good.
comics, she's not playing a part at all, but
Yeah,
that Moon Girl cartoon, don't underestimate how popular that
sure.
is amongst
There's a
kids.
different purpose for it, and the
Yeah.
scholastic kind of audience. She is a different purpose, I guess. I know. I don't.
She's helping to bridge the gap between the kids, and that's something Marvel's really lacking in, is reaching out to youth. Beyond the Marvel movies, which appeals to a certain age group, you really want to get the younger kids, and Moon Girl is a tremendous avenue for that. Marvel doesn't really do cartoons like that anymore that reach out to kids, and I think that's not investing in your future
I think
because
young kids grow up, and the
yeah,
ones who you want them to invest in by Moon Girl, it's been 7, 8 years now.
right,
So those little 10-year-olds are teenagers, and those teenagers got their first job. They don't really got to pay rent or anything. They want to spend money on a comic book, looking for
right.
the Moon Girl comics, and Moon Girl isn't a factor anymore. Like,
I ask, how many of you watching this right now who are in the comics actually found out about your characters through cartoons first
oh, all of
or
us,
video games for that matter?
right?
You know,
That's
that's
me.
really where it's at. That's where you have to invest long term if you're a company like Marvel or DC. If you want to invest long term into the longevity of the companies, you gotta do content for little kids.
But Paul, the content for little kids was the Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. It was a character who also has a purpose for adults. If you're reading the Amazing Spider-Man comic book, we know is
Mhm.
adult driven or adult oriented. So unlike that, Moon Girl isn't a kid brand, and also you can be of all
I see
ages
what you're
and still
saying. Yeah,
appreciate.
yeah. There
Spoiler
you go. You
Kings
got
is
a super
dropping a
sticker.
$5 super chat for the Black Comic Lords, giving a super sticker. We appreciate that, bros.
What are
What were
some
you
other
saying, sorry?
comments? What are some other comments that we have here?
Okay, let's read some more of these. Sorry I'm late. I just came from a different stream. I appreciate you. Transmutanism. Hmm?
I guess maybe moving from mutant to something else.
Anansi tells us, isn't it usually the X-Men writers that always have Storm and Black Panther against each other?
Yes,
And now we got an X-Men writer working on both of the characters. I don't know if we have that problem anymore.
we'll see.
Good evening. They teamed her up with Miles. Maybe he's talking about Riri?
Moon Girl. Moon Girl had
Oh,
a
you're right. That
series
did
with the
happen. That did
X-Men
happen.
and Miles and
I don't hate the
Avengers.
humans. I just hate how Marvel tried to make them the new X-Men.
That's exactly what they tried to do.
Ike Perlmutter. DC been ruling the animation realm. Definitely Moon Girl is helping to bridge a gap. It just on that bridge, there's nothing on the other side if Moon Girl isn't going to be prominent in the next big event. And then although I think it was Jason Aaron who wrote that AVX Royal Marriage breakup, it could have been him, it could have been Fraction, it could have been Bendis, it could have been Hickman. There was like multiple writers on that. Um, I don't think he was an X-Men writer. And plus, we can't blame that writer. We can't blame the writer.
It's
It's
not
an
that our writer.
editorial
Jason Aaron's
decision.
is actually a really good writer, but he had his directives. As I said, it was actually part of a larger thing where Marvel was trying to distance themselves from the X-Men properties, and you can't have the most prominent couple in comics still be together when they're trying to split that up.
Well, you could, but they wouldn't.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Spider-Man grew up with us. I hated the Inhuman show. Ugh. I found all my comic characters in the comics first. Who's this? Gordon Mahan, you're the oddball here because I think that the comic book media is less accessible than some of the other stuff we're talking about.
Mm.
TV shows, video games, movies.
Yeah, you're a unicorn, Gordon.
Got to have a gateway. Comics alone won't cut it. That's for facts. Yep, it's editorial. What do you think of Storm becoming on the Avengers? I want to ask you the same question. I'll send you a link, okay?
Here's
Uh,
the question. Here's the question for that. So Storm's joining the Avengers. Understand who the present iteration of the Avengers are. Back in the day, the Avengers, a lot of the Avengers teams were really made up of a bunch of C-listers, including Iron Man. Iron Man was a C-list character for a long time before his movie. Um, None of those guys were really A-list characters that were household names. I should say a lot of them were not A-list characters. But the present iteration of the Avengers are all alpha dogs, right? We've got Captain Marvel, who Marvel puts out there as the most powerful Avenger, right? Until Storm joined, obviously. You've got Iron Man, right? He is the second in charge of the team. You've got
Sometimes.
Thor, a literal god, who's now not just a literal god, he's the All Father of Asgard. Not just the son of Odin, he's the All Father. So he's super mega powerful in his own right. You've got the Scarlet Witch, who with three words basically decimated the entire mutant race.
No more mutants.
We don't speak of her. She's still. I'm curious to see the relationship between Scarlet Witch and Storm.
Can you
Actually,
who do you speak of less? Is it her or Ron Gidley?
the second one.
Yeah.
I'm still anyway. And then we've got Sam Wilson, a careless. Then we've got T'Challa, you know, King of Wakanda. These are this is an alpha dog team. So when they put in that solicit that you read, she's finally going to be a team of her equals. What they mean is a team of all alpha dogs, right? Who's going to be the leader?
Captain Marvel is the leader.
Is the leader now, but
yeah,
it'd be interesting to see if Storm were to be was to be made the leader of the Avengers. Let me look at that team again.
So because right now T'Challa's there right now, along with Captain Marvel, along with Thor. I mean, it's going to be interesting, but adding Storm too, that's going to be a very interesting idea, putting them together, and then putting Storm that close to T'Challa right now, especially what they're doing in all of the comic books and all the TV shows and erasing them. So what are they doing? What is their end game? That's my real question. Where's their end game? I have no idea.
Here's the thing. Every single member of this present Avengers squad, with the exception of the Vision, has been chairperson of the Avengers at one point or other.
Huh.
Every single one. They've all been leaders of the Avengers except for Storm and Vision. Vision doesn't seem to have any leadership qualities. I might be wrong on Vision. I think he might have had a short stint where he filled in. Someone could probably correct me on that, but I don't remember him being he might have had a short stint. But Storm has never been a leader of the Avengers, so this is a tremendous opportunity for Jed McKay to have her do that. Mm-hmm. She's a leader. She's not a second fiddle soldier type. She takes over stuff. So that would be an interesting twist. I would love to see the fanboys see another Black woman take over the Avengers.
Because of Monica the first time around?
Right.
I alluded to this like an hour ago on somebody else's stream. But with Monica, and the way I just said right now, I said because Monica, I chose to use the word Monica instead of saying what she was called at the time, which was Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I never want to see her take the name of Captain Marvel in the movies. I know that the scene where they said her name was pulled, and Teyonah Parris does have an interview saying, I can't, so you guys all saw it because you both nodded your head at the same time. So like, I know that the Photon decision or the Spectrum decision, whichever of the two they were going to go with,
it was Photon. I think it was Photon.
You reckon?
They both.
Yeah, because I remember what Ewing, she didn't say, but she said. So, maybe they think, all right, Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, and Carol Danvers isn't working for us because Brie Larson and us are having some issues. Mm-hmm. Instead, we're going to put another person, get the name Captain Marvel. I would be opposed to this because I think branding is important. And if you spend all these resources and millions, and how many views got to Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel? Because of that, that's her name. It's cemented. Let's not fight it. Let's allow Monica to have her own name. Now, to us, we know that it went from this name to that name and it flipped. But to the general, don't confuse anything. We'll always know her as Photon. I think that's more progressive, even if she was called Captain Marvel first. But
I agree 100% because you're getting back into the mantleization issue, right? Because think about it. It would be just like the situation we have with Sam Wilson right now. He had his own separate identity, and now all of a sudden he's going to be the new Captain America. It's kind of acknowledging that he was a sidekick, because sidekicks take on the mantle of the main hero.
main person.
So I don't want Monica to be known as a sidekick to Carol Danvers.
The alternate Captain Marvel.
Right. Like, she's her own woman. She doesn't need to be Carol Danvers #2. She's her own character. So yeah, I agree with you. I do not want her to ever have the name Captain Marvel ever again in either the comics or in the movies.
Going to have it in this movie in the MCU. They're probably going to have a variant where she becomes Captain Marvel somehow. They're going to throw that in there, and I don't know. I know I don't want it to be that way. I wish they would have had her be Captain Marvel. You know, if you're going to do Captain Marvel, have her be the first Captain Marvel. Don't have her following Carol Danvers. So
I still wouldn't want her to be the first Captain Marvel. And Black Panther, shout out to you. Monica was always my Captain Marvel. I still wouldn't want that, just because what did Paul call it? Paul called it a mantle. This isn't Captain Marvel, the word. It's just 7 letters. Captain Marvel, 6 letters. That's all it is. It doesn't mean like there's a country that's called Marvel. Who's the captain of it? You know, there's no villain that goes, I got a problem with Captain Marvel. You know, it's not even a power set. The reason why Captain Marvel is a thing is because Billy Batson, who used to say Shazam and turned into Captain Marvel, that company went out of business, and because DC was suing them out of the water. Because there was an opening, Marvel Comics were like, well, we're called Marvel. Let's make a Captain Marvel. And it was Marvel. And then to, I guess, renew the copyright that they had on it, let's just throw this on Monica. We need to call another character Captain Marvel. Boom. That's it. There's no, okay, every Avengers needs to have a Hulk, an Asgardian, and a Captain Marvel. There's no rule of it. It's a weightless name. It's not a mantle either. I don't think it's a mantle. So I hope that answers what you were just saying to me, Brian. What did you just say, Brian? Did I answer it?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I'm more worried about what they're going to do with her adding into the Avengers in the comic books in August, and then now having her and T'Challa there, and then what storylines are they going to go with? I am really, I'm a little worried, but I'm interested in why they're telling the male, you can't use him, or we're going to focus on this storyline. We're going to use this as an introduction. Because why are they introducing this, telling us this so early, saying that this is a turning point? They're going to use her in a certain way. I even think at X-Men 97, it was interesting that Storm, they didn't know where Storm was. She was off the board. They took her off the board for even X-Men 97. So what are they doing? Where's their focus with these two characters? We've been wanting one thing for such a long time. Are they doing it, or are they trying to play with us and just kind of piecemeal us? Like, we'll give you a little bit here, a little bit here, and then all of a sudden,
yeah, sorry,
forget everything we were talking about. So I wonder.
Am I right? That's totally it. Let's keep reading some of that article, though. That was the point of this stream. So with the Avengers, we were here. Not only will the Avengers need her Omega level power for the battles ahead, shout out to that, man, her Omega level power. Yes, recognize that. But they'll need her to rely on her unique expertise and leadership skills, as McKay's overarching plot involving
leadership skills.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership skills, baby. It sounds like they know how to make fans happy, and this is very good and pleasant to read. The overarching plot, that itself, an overarching plot, that's what I'm talking about, involving Kang, who we did see for a little bit and he kind of left. I did a video covering it. It was about the same time Jonathan Majors had his issues, but okay, yeah. Kang left the comic. Kang is back. The Twilight Court.
I'm still on leadership skills. She's the only one on that team who has not been the leader of the Avengers, and they're talking about her leadership skills. Watch out! I'm calling it.
Don't you have to make her more prominent if you're gonna make her the leader? Like, you have to give her a backstory, and you can let her be there for more than just 5 or 6 issues. She needs to be from issue 1, the focus from issue 1 to 10. Like we were talking about when we talked about Dr. Ewing with Black Panther. You have to have a focus, and if she's going to be the leader, she needs to be the focus of the Avengers. That's how you really make her a leader.
Paul, can you imagine?
She's going to be made chairwoman. I'm calling it.
Yeah. Because look, Carol Danvers does something wrong, or something happens in Blood Hunt, and now it's August. The comic comes out, and all the Avengers are like, yo, listen, this isn't working. We got to do something. We need a leader. Who do you guys vote for? It can't be anyone. It can't be you. It can't be you. And the reason why it can't be Vision, All right, what do we do then? Where do we go? Oh, remember that whole Unity Squad idea we had when we were trying to integrate with mutants? What's Aurora doing? T'Challa, what do you think? And we get Aurora as the leader.
You know what's interesting? Jed McKay wrote in Blood Hunt, when the proverbial shit hit the fan. Who did Carol Danvers say when she's like, I don't know what to do? I don't know. Who's the first person she called to and said, what should I do next?
I don't know what happened. Who?
She turned to T'Challa.
That's why she went to T'Challa. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She was T'Challa. You're the guy who's always got a plan. What do we do next? He's like, I don't know. Right?
That's right.
So, I mean, she might, an interesting way to write it would be like, I'm second guessing myself because under my watch as Avengers chairperson, the Avengers fell. Like half the squad died under my watch. So she might second guess herself as leader, right? When this Blood Hunt story is done, she's like, we barely survived and half our squad got killed and made into vampires or whatever. I don't feel comfortable being chairperson anymore. Storm, come on. I've known you for years. We used to hang out and play, tennis at the courts at Xavier's back in the day. Why don't you all go ahead and take over the team?
How about T'Challa? Like maybe Carol looks at T'Challa and says, hey, we need new leadership. What do you think we should do?
Yeah.
She's like, don't look at me.
I don't think I should be leader. I have to focus on Wakanda.
Nah, you know who we need more of around here? You know who I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of? Oh, that girl, Aurora chick. Remember her?
Yeah. By the way, T'Challa's gonna be like, by the way, I think only Avengers should be allowed in the Impossible City, not like, spouses and stuff. Friends with benefits. I don't think they should be. Only Avengers should be. But so let's bring Storm in.
Yeah.
Get rid of Craig.
No Craig. No Craig.
No Craig.
Do you think that they know a T'Challa and a T'Challa Black Panther and Storm team up series would sell? Maybe this could lead towards that. Maybe Jed McKay will have a storyline reason to get to here. And we haven't even seen the end of the Krakoan Fall of X. There may be a great storyline reason for Aurora's involvement in this as well. And I know Paul's ready to explode. Let me just finish. What would you call this series, though? Would you give them, how like World's Finest has nothing to do with the word Batman and Superman, but we know World's Finest. I think that would be a mistake. I think you do need to call the book like Black Panther and Storm, Storm and Panther, Thunder, Cats.
I just call it Power.
You just call it Power. See, that's I wouldn't because World's Finest.
I would just call it Power because that's what they represent. Power. Would that
reinvigorate you with Marvel? That's what I want to know.
Oh my God. A Storm, even if just a limited series, even if it's just 4 issues of just Storm and T'Challa in a series teaming up to go fight the big bad on a global scale, maybe an intergalactic scale.
Oh.
Ooh, that would be
I like that.
I think the fan bases of both would be enough to keep it going.
Right. And I think whenever I do this stuff, I always try to think long term. And I think about that 8-year-old kid that sees a black man and a black woman on the cover of a comic, being absolutely fantastic and in charge and controlling and running things and saying, wow, that's cool. That could be me. That could be my friends. That's how I think. And I Marvel, if you ever watch this, I triple dog dare you to do the right thing and put Storm and T'Challa in their very own limited series at minimum. I dare you. Hell, a one-shot. No, I don't say one-shot. Like I said, I don't let my cake can eat it too. A limited series at the minimum. Triple dog.
I don't care if they give me a variant of them. Just give me something with them both in it together.
Yeah.
I think the 8-year-old white kid who's also walking those comic book stands, even if he doesn't read the comic, I want him to live in a world where at eye level there's a comic book of Storm and T'Challa looking powerful, and then he can ascribe value to that skin tone. That'd be just the greatest.
Facts.
So awesome.
Facts. Absolute facts.
She was able to transform into an energy spectrum. Monica is an Omega level with power. Yeah, I guess you can call her Omega by Brian Michael, but by Hickman's classifications. She's led the X-Men and the Morlocks and ruled on Mars. Do you know how bad it is if T'Challa says, I don't know?
Exactly.
Terrence never gets scared. But if T'Challa told me, I don't know. Well, Will says T'Challa still got to run the ones with Steve. Might as well slide Sam Wilson as well. I could sacrifice Sam Wilson for some Storm.
Yeah.
I would.
I got no problems with that.
Storm and Thor romance.
Until Sam gets over his identity crisis and realizes he's enough as Falcon and doesn't need someone else's identity for validation. Sam can be someplace else.
Word.
When you become Falcon again, you can rejoin the Avengers, Sam, and have my interest.
In the aftermath of Blood Hunt and Fall at House of X, the Avengers are licking their wounds and recessing their goals. Again, they're licking their wounds. It sounds like Carol is going to mess up. One member takes
half
the...
the
Ooh,
team
like
dies.
this.
They have wounds to lick.
One member takes the initiative by approaching Storm, hoping to add her strength and perspective to the team's upcoming missions. And the roster...
that's T'Challa.
That's T'Challa all the way.
That's T'Challa. Babes, don't call me babes. We're done. I got a new man, Craig. Yeah. Anyway, babes, can you come back to the team? We need you. I died, by the way.
He's like, I'm not trying to get back with you. I'm just trying to say I need your help.
It's not about me and you, baby. It's not about me and you. It's about the world.
The next quote is from Jed McKay. But look, we got you here, Paul. We got Spoiler Kings. Brian is in the building. I didn't say your channel is called Spoiler Kings, but we got someone else who's going to read that portion instead. I'm going to tag Sean from the YouTube channel, The Comics Pals. What's your take on this?
This is a quote from Jed McKay. When we were putting together thoughts for X-Men, one problem kept coming up. Storm needed to have a presence in a book befitting her status, but it would be weird for her to be on an X-Men team if she was not the leader. The solution was simple. She needed to be on a global stage amongst equals. And what better place for that than the Avengers? We're excited to bring Storm back to the Avengers and show what adventures she'll get up to as a part of Earth's mightiest heroes. Okay, Jed, so here's what I heard. I heard that Storm is too big to be just a member of an X-Men team, and that they had no plans of having her lead any X-Men team, but that she is just fine to be a member of the Avengers. That's what I heard. I heard that the Avengers are a bigger team than the X-Men, and it's okay for her to not be on an X-Men team because she's too big for that, but not too big to just be on the Avengers. Well, shit. If she's too big to just be in the X-Men, then how the fuck come she's not too big to have not an A-list creative team writing her solo book?
Damn.
Riddle me that.
And also, if the Avengers are bigger than the X-Men, how come every X-Men book is outside the Avengers book? Like Avengers is in March, Avengers 11 was number 44 on the sale charts.
That's a very good point.
I think he makes a lot of good points.
Morella, okay, go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
I think he makes some good points. But it's here's the thing. As I said before, we're not just talking about an Avengers team in comparison to the X-Men. This particular iteration of the Avengers are all alpha dogs.
Mm-hmm.
They're all top level characters. They're all A-list characters for all intents and purposes. There's not a single one of the members on this squad that hasn't been in the MCU. So that they have that name recognition. You could show an Avengers book to a casual person
and they'll know all these
who doesn't read comics, and they'll know who these characters are because they watch the movies. So it's an A-list team. But she's the only one that's never been a leader of that team. So I think it's a perfect setup of getting some glow up on Storm. I'm taken back by the fact that they're not making, what does they say, 44 is their sales? Mm-hmm. It's not terrible, but it's not top book.
I mean, Avengers just kind of fell off a little bit. I mean, the height of it was when the movies were that high. Right now, the movies are going towards Fantastic Four. They're going towards all the solo projects right now. So I can understand why the comics would kind of fall off. Instead, the Blood Hunt's coming out right now, so it's crossing over everything. DC doing their thing, so I understand. But yeah, I think Avengers will always have that name recognition and will come back up and eventually get back to where it needs to be, especially in August.
No, but how about that second part? Because as I was in the middle of saying that Black Panther and Storm book would sell because they have enough of a fan base, I did that with the understanding that it would be the minimum wage comic book writer who's just getting an opportunity who would be doing that comic book, and it wouldn't be the ilk that is happening now. That we're so happy with Jed McKay doing Avengers and X-Men. I know that the Black Panther and Storm book would be the guy who has 3 years of experience under his or her belt. I know that the guy writing Ororo, his name is Morewa Ayodele. I'm gonna keep pronouncing the name, and I'll get it right one day. But that dude, with all due respect, isn't this accomplished, experienced writer with a name brand where you go, oh, he's doing the comic book? Oh, we can do that. Not everyone has to be Hickman. You know, Gods was only sold because Jonathan Hickman's name was on it, right?
Yep.
Every thousands of sales. We know it's because of Hickman. He doesn't got to be that. But the writer does need to be somebody. And Storm doesn't have Storm, the solo Storm. There's a reason it's going to last 10 issues.
Well, here's the thing. Morewe Ayodele may not be a household name yet, but he does have a following. I mean, he just came out
Gun. Yes, I do. I have that one too. Yeah.
on Brutalizer of the Gods. He wrote this book. He and his partner also wrote his partner I know I'm going to mispronounce this, Dotun Akande. They also wrote the I Am Iron Man series, which I don't know if you guys read that series, but it was a great series. If you're an Iron Man fan and you're familiar with Iron Man lore, fantastic series.
Lore?
I know a lot of people didn't get a lot of advertisements and people, it was kind of flew under the radar, but pick up an issue of that book, very well written.
Was it canon? You said lore. You used the word lore. Does that mean that the events in the comic book took place in actual 616?
Yeah, it's basically like a retrospective book about, and they're looking at Tony Stark at different time periods in Marvel history.
Okay, then Paul, then I do have to tell you, like, this isn't someone who they would trust with create new stories, have it matter. They're just like, oh yeah, look at the past, look at the old Iron Man stuff, and rework it and repurpose that. Do your best there, but this isn't going to play with our six.
Was done.
But when you have a writer, that has some sense of past, that understands some of the storylines. Sometimes when you get into a new level, sometimes it helps out with the story, and because now you can connect things. You have that connective tissue. So like maybe they gave him the I Am Iron Man thing to show that you have enough, doubt that you know exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about these comics, and now you can take it and have a connective tissue with the next thing that you're doing.
Yeah, he does
gun
his
is off the damn off. It's unbelievable. It's good storytelling without having a backstory. They give you a backstory while they're telling the story. So I'm telling you that it's a very good series. So I think he could do something serious.
Yeah, I mean
Hey Brian, thanks for joining, Brian. You're at the channel Spoiler Kings, and I know that you guys just started your live stream. So
they're live right now. I was like, man, I was listening to you guys. I was like, I gotta jump on.
You guys can go check him out over there. Peace.
I have every faith in Morewe's abilities on this book. He's an excellent writer. I mean, just looking, this book was fire. I don't know if you guys read this, so this is real dope book. But we'll have a chance to talk to him. We're going to talk to him in a couple weeks.
You're misunderstanding my point. It's that his stature is so
low.
No,
he's not a household name. I get it. He's not a household name.
And they just bigged her up like she's this important character. And I'm siding with what Comics Pals just said in that video. Like, then give her the guy. Now, you said that Morewa Ayodele has a base. You, as well as, what's his name? Brian just now.
He's not a household name yet, but he's a talented writer who's on the upswing.
All right, that's kind of my point there. It's not everything is rainbows and fuzzy, but this is enough of a push with Aurora, with Storm right now, that I can't complain more than I've already just complained now. But I can't go like, this is not worth supporting. This is worth supporting right now. The comic book company is super behind her in ways that we've never seen before and rarely ever do see the next time something like this. Don't give them a reason for why this Storm Avengers run and this Storm or like solo comic book don't succeed. I want Avengers 17 to be, we've been tracking the comic books every now and again. Was the 40th that we just said? I'm sharing the screen. I'll find that's from March. Comic Book Revolution. Sales charts from March.
44,
Control
something.
F Avengers. Control F Avengers franchise. So the Avengers comic book was the 44th selling comic book, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, this is interesting. Ultimate Black Panther number 2, it was the 8th best. And of course, that's because of the speculation and remember what happened with the trucks and everything. So number 2 was really, really high. I know it's going to stay high. I just know it's not going to be a top 10 book when we get to issue 3. But the sales charts for where's T'Challa? For number 10, the Eve Ewing run, it was the 175th. According to these guesstimates, it was the 175th highest selling comic. That's the reason it was canceled. But we won't let that happen because when Avengers 17 is on this chart, it's not going to be the 93rd selling comic, or it'll be one of the top selling comic books because all of us are gonna pre-order our comic books. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the comic book shop. We're gonna say, "Hey man," and they're gonna be like, "Hey man, yeah, yo, in 2 months from now, right before that final order cutoff date, I need you to book my book. I need you to make sure that there's not 10 issues on the stand of Storm, but 11. I'll be one of those 11 purchasers. That way, when you get your comic book, which is a guaranteed sale, it'll be guaranteed to be there. They'll even put it aside sometimes, depending on your store. They'll put it aside, put it in a little box for you where you can pull and collect it. Not only will it be there for you, now it's not going to cost another customer because maybe on Sunday, the comic comes out on Wednesday, but by Sunday, there's only one comic book left. And you take that comic book on Sunday, now there's no comic books left. Now there's no more Storms that could go to potential customers, which will have a residual, it will have an effect. It'll affect the sales for the comic book series to come. You don't want to rob that last comic book from a potential customer. You want to be a reason why that there's a significant amount of comic books on that shelf for issue number 1. And that lasts for issue 2, and that stands for issue 3, and that stands for issue 4. By then, your comic book shop will know just how many to order and how many Storm customers that there are at his shop, and you'll get the appropriate amount. Maybe he'll be like 1 on the shelf, he'll just enough to where he knows like I can risk ordering this many. But until you communicate it with your shop, he doesn't know to do that. There hasn't been a Storm series since maybe 2012 was the last like Storm series.
There was a Storm series last year, but no one talks about it because it's trash.
Oh yeah, the
Anacenti. Yeah, it was terrible.
But that's what the guy is your comic book shops. That's what we're gonna be ordering off of. They're gonna say, I remember how many Storms went that time around. Okay, and they'll be under ordering basically. Communicate with your shops, let them know.
That was an excellent pre-order promo. Look, when I first started doing stuff with Chillmonger, I remember bringing up the concept of pre-orders to him. He's like, why is it important? Why is it important? And I did this big long speech as to why it was important, and I don't think Chillmonger bought it at the time, but he's like come full circle, and I'm so proud of you,
Paul. I mean, the way that you characterize that, I definitely did, but I knew. I wanted it to be like, why is it important? And then you could do the whole thing. I always knew how important these pre-orders were, most certainly.
I feel like I didn't sell you on the concept, and now you're like championing it, and I appreciate that.
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
For sure. Let's read your last comments for a little bit. We're 56 minutes into this stream. Well, no, actually, we're not because you started it when we were 2 minutes into it. So we're like we're 54 minutes into the stream. Let's go another 5, and then it'll be right under an hour. Nice and digestible for our audience. So let us know what you guys talk about. Oh yeah, he did do Moon White, Black, White, and Blood, but much like I Am Iron Man, it's not like happening in current day. It's not the events of that comic book won't be referenced somewhere else. That's why I'm not like rating it that highly. But no disrespect to Morawa Ayodele. No disrespect to him. I'm rooting for him. Actually, it's kind of a little benefit that he's going to be paid so little because the cost of making this comic book will not warrant such high sales. Like they can float through with, kind of lower tier sales as opposed to what the page rate is for maybe a guy like Jed McKay. So maybe that's going to work to our advantage. But we, the comic book customers, the comic book base, watch this channel and that channel, both of our channels. You guys need to be pre-ordering these comic books and collecting. Buy a variant cover just for the sake of supporting. I don't like. I was saying stuff about Night Thrasher. I was saying some stuff about Misty Knight. Whatever. Storm is the one of the characters that I have to ride for, and I will create a community of comic book panels where we chat about this character because she's worth it. I will not be a part when people ask me what happened. Why don't they have enough black characters in comic book? I'm gonna say I wrote for Black Panther and I wrote for Storm.
She is the most recognizable Black superheroine in the world. She's number one. There's no one
My
else.
comic book.
Huh?
Until I write my comic book, yeah, she's number one for now. I'll give it to you.
I'm
That
hearing
Storm.
about this comic book of yours, man. I'm intrigued. I mean, I'd love to interview you about your book when you drop it.
Sure.
So please give us that blessing. But yeah, right now she is the number one Black superheroine in the world, most recognizable character. If there's any character that you want to ride or die for and support in mainstream comics, that would be the one.
Would you go as far as to say what I'm about to say? Save your money on every other Black Marvel hero and then use it all on Storm to buy multiple copies. That's what I would tell them. Concentrate the effort.
I'm Issa Rae when it comes to comics. I support everybody Black. I'm rooting for everybody Black.
Got it. Randall Brown says to pre-order. He says ... pre-order with exclamation, right? No, that's the first one. Then there's pre-order with twos, and then there's capital letters of pre-order. Yes. Anzo says, what's up? What's Reginald Hudlin doing right now? What is he doing right now? In comics? Nothing. But he's always had like a TV deal or other kind of occupations. He wasn't always a comic guy.
Dennis Cowan someone recently asked Milestone, what are you guys doing? I mean, what happened in Milestone Universe? And Dennis Cowan, I think it was Dennis, said, what was the words he used? Stay tuned, something like that. So kind of a dun dun dun, something's going to happen.
But how long is stay tuned? Stay tuned doesn't mean
I don't know, man. It's a sore subject for me. Milestone that's my favorite comic book publisher from back in the day. I own all, if not most, of those comics. I'm a hardcore Milestone fan, and the fact that the Second Coming didn't go as big as advertised really hurts me to my core, because I really want those guys to succeed. I'm still rooting for them hard.
Yeah, I'm rooting for them as well, and I don't think it's over yet. But the less books, if they come back with another static like Shadows of somewhere else, Shadows of Gotham, maybe something like that. Maybe we get talking. He has it down to a science. And then Anansi says, I ride or die for Vixen of DC Comics and Black Panther. Everyone has their favorites, man.
Yeah, Vixen's a very not well promoted but incredible character that DC is screwing up, honestly, and not giving that character a bigger glow up in their books. She should be their number one Black superhero.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. Yeah, I prefer her over someone like the Green Lantern who's not Hal Jordan. I prefer her. Yeah, if they got really behind her. I have been chill. As you can see, Brian from the Spoiler Kings is live right now talking about movies and whatnot. Actually, they got T'Challa on the screen right there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on that link that I just put into the private chat, into the comment chat, and we're gonna continue and support our boy Brian from the Spoiler Kings. Check them out. You may not like everything they talk about, but you definitely like the topic that they're on right now. So we're out. Black Comic Lords. Don't forget to thumbs up this video. Chillmonger, same message. Thumbs up the video.